Hey, this is Lazarus Returns with Refresh and Reload. We're here for another Kick It. We're going to be going over Storm Bunny Studios' new Kickstarter they're going to be doing. I'm here with Jaye today. You guys all know who I am. I'm not going to introduce myself again because that's just fucking stupid. But I will say we do have someone with us that has been doing this maybe as long as I have, if not longer. Jaye, you've been doing RPGs for ages.
Yeah, well, I started with open design and started with the that crowd over there. So that was 2005, 2006. So,
Oh,
um,
wow.
yeah,
So you've been involved in a while. So Storm Bunny Studios, you have a studio. You guys have actually been producing stuff for a little while now. Tell us about yourself. How long you've been with the studio that you put together, and how long you've been working in the RPG industry? Has it been since Open Design, or have you been doing it longer than that?
well, open design I think was really the place where I started to learn about design. I didn't do a lot of publishing with them. Um, I spent a lot of time writing pitches, getting rejected, and learning how things go. Really, it was kind of like my RPG boot camp, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, man. Rejection's part of the development process.
Yeah, yeah. So it was, I don't know. It was just one of those things where you learn. It was my learning curve. It was the thing that got me interested in actually putting my voice out into the world and taking some of the things that that I love and I want to share with people and really getting them out there.
So
So I
I
mean,
mean, you've been playing games longer than '05, though, right? You've been playing RPGs for way longer. I mean, I just hit I think my
20
20-year
years,
anniversary was last month, so
20 plus years.
20, yeah, exactly, dude. It's when you buy dice like this that cost over way too much, you know you've been doing this shit too long. Um, but yeah, so Storm Bunny, it's your baby, right? You're kind of the sole owner, sole proprietor for it. A lot of freelancers join up to do stuff.
Yeah, yes.
So first off, what the hell is a Storm Bunny?
All right, so I don't know if anybody listening or if you're a Donnie Darko fan, but
Sure.
I always loved Frank the rabbit, this time traveling like storm chaotic kind of crazy time traveler that was just this agent of change. That for me the idea, the theme of an agent of change, somebody that kind of slips into your life and and just twists things just enough to provoke that kind of inner fire to get that inner fire. And so when I was thinking about the logo and thinking about putting a studio together, obviously for IP reasons, I couldn't go, hey, Frank the Storm Bunny or anything like that.
Right.
I actually talked storm, chaotic,
Oh,
kind of
you must
crazy.
have hit play in the background.
It was just this agent of change. Did we get a lot of feedback? The
Yeah,
idea
you're playing your video right now, it sounds like.
wow, right? And and just twists things just.
Well, I can mute you while you're figuring it out. So you must have the website up still and it's playing it right now. That would be my guess. Go through your website stuff. Storm Bunny is I would definitely have to say of my years of watching Donnie Darko way too much, I've never would have equated those two things together, that you took a Donnie Darko thing and turned it into it. I I wouldn't have thought that. You can unmute yourself too. It's in the top middle. You'll see a little microphone button.
All right,
There you
there
go.
we go. All right, so I'm obviously not the master of Google Hangouts,
Well, no,
and
your job is to make RPGs and games, not to do technological stuff.
right,
You're not making video games over there. Then I'd make fun of you.
yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
So you got the Storm Bunny Studio stuff. You kind of named it after something that you obviously are pretty passionate about. You must have watched a lot of Donnie Darko growing up or something, because
Well,
that's
I
a
mean, it's
really
not
odd
just
reference, man.
Darko. It's not. I mean, I like obviously we're very Norse oriented. So like the idea, if you look at the Stormy Studios, logo, if you look at Stormy, our little patron there, he's actually holding up, a hammer
Oh,
and he's lightning striking it. And
yep.
all. So there's definitely
Well, you
there's
guys
a
have plushies for that thing, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, there are, and those will be part of. There's going to be a limited run. We're working with a pretty cool little company, and there will be a limited run at different backer levels. So
Oh, I want one.
people will be able to get Stormy as a plush. It's got a cool little logo and all that.
I can give it to the girl, and she can now have something that's actually RPG.
Yeah. But just to get back to Stormony Studios real quick, but I started it in 2012. I really it came down to I had a long talk with a friend, and I was doing everything under Jaye's games, and it was just kind of an independent logo thing. And
Oh,
really,
I
I
didn't
need
know you did that.
in order to grow the IP and to really make it something spectacular, I needed to actually put a company together and have a solid business model. So I decided after some time to create Stormony Studios, and it's still a bit of a learning curve, but I think we're doing fairly well. So
Fairly well. Well, we'll get into the Kickstarter stuff in a minute because that's obviously why we're all here. But
right.
you guys have already put out a shit. I think we were just talking. You said it was like 6 books already. You guys have out.
Well, so yeah, we've got 6 PDFs. The original, one of the things we're kicking in this Kickstarter is we're trying to update and expand the Rhune, Dawn, and Twilight Stormpunk character primer. I originally wrote that right after the beta for Pathfinder came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I
We all have
released
that
it
book
in
sitting around.
2009. When I originally wrote the primer, it was geared towards very basic Pathfinder. It was over 100 pages. My layout guy in Canada, Stephen Wark, was like, "You're giving this away. That is way too many pages." We went through an editing process. We cut it down. He said, "Hey, share things in small bits. Don't give everybody the whole package." So we had to, like, for printing purposes, and we did a really small run, just for a couple of people that wanted it.
Sure.
Never went print on demand. I did this crazy thing because, as you well know, I lived in the Middle East for 7 years. I was going to for myself, so I went ahead and I just paid for everything out of pocket. I put the primer together, and then I built the PDF and put it on the website, and I gave it away. And I've been giving it away since 2009. The primer, the maps by John Roberts, everything has been free to the community. It's been downloaded thousands of times, so I know people are reading it. Either that, or they're just putting it, I don't know, or they're just keeping it on their hard drives or something.
Right. Right.
Given the fact that I do get a lot of emails from fans, I know people are interested. And about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, right after we founded Stormony Studios, a lot of my people out in Kuwait, my home guys, fans, people on Facebook were like, "Hey, when are you going to bring this to print? When are you going to do something bigger?"
Right.
And so it with all the product that Paizo releases, we just, even with freelancers and being a smaller company, it was really hard for us to keep up. And 2009 to 2014, a lot of material's been released. A lot of it's applicable for the setting, and so we're really looking just to update and expand it and really bring it to print.
Well, so that brings us then to the Kickstarter. You're doing a Kickstarter, first one for Storm Bunny Studios. I've been involved in a lot of Kickstarters over the years of Kickstarter. First one for Storm Bunny. You guys have already put out, and I should say you have put so much out, but with all the freelancers, you've put out 6 books already, a primer that's over 100 pages. You 9-inch nailed that shit and gave it away for free. And now you guys are coming back to the community saying, "Hey, you guys have asked for it, so we're going to give you the chance to kind of kick in and make this really happen." So the Kickstarter itself is starting July 1st, correct?
Right.
That's the not the tentative date. That's the hard date. It's you're pretty much ready to roll. Have you guys? I mean, why Kickstarter? If you've already dumped so much money into this already, what's making you go to Kickstarter to make this happen?
Well, one of the things that I did do, and first of all, the original primer was written at plus 100 pages, but we actually printed right around 55, 60. So it's actually
like half of it, roughly.
Yeah. Essentially, to be honest with you, I decided to make this a full-time thing. I was working full-time.
Oh, nice.
I didn't have the time I wanted to dedicate to really developing the setting and
Sure.
100% behind the company, and it was kind of a hobby initially, but I realized it was taking more and more of my time, and I was already kind of at that point where I wanted to leave the Middle East, so I decided to come back early, focus on it, and not having a huge bankroll from a nice lucrative Middle Eastern job meant
Right.
I had to be a little more frugal with my my finances. So,
Right.
well, I've already bought a lot of the assets. We've already put some really great art together. We've brought some really good writers on board, and we're prepared. We're just really asking the community to help us finish this project. We've done a bunch of the work. The things that we're asking people to kick are an updated and expanded Stormpunk character primer, which will be over 100, 120 pages long.
Damn.
It may go longer depending on stretch goals and who gets involved. We've
Right.
already got people, some pretty good folks involved if we hit some of those stretch goals. And we're also doing the 3 adventure arc that takes PCs from levels 1 to 12. We're calling it Beyond the Glittering Fane Adventure Arc. It's like a mini AP, really, that's set in Rhune, Dawn of Twilight. So
how many books are you looking at for that adventure?
We're looking at 2. We're going to have an updated. Oh, I'm sorry, for the adventure or
for the adventure path one. You said the AP style one. How many books is it going to be?
It's going to be 3 books that are right around 70 pages apiece. We've already finished Into the Pale Tower, which you play tested part of. That's 69 pages long, including the covers. So
are these going to be PDF only, or print as well, or print on demand?
The goal for this Kickstarter is bring stuff to print.
Gotcha. So this is really about getting your ink to paper.
That's exactly what it is. So we've got the second adventure mostly written. Mike Myler's working with us. He's already done Frigid Reflections, done the outline, and started putting that together. So as far as the AP goes, I'd say 50-60% of it's already done.
Now, are you guys running this at any of the conventions over the next year? I mean, obviously you're going to be at Gen Con. We're both there every damn year doing way too much of this while we're there. Are you going to be running anything? What's that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Yeah, that's Coca-Cola. Oh, yeah. I even went and picked up myself for this occasion some Vikings blood. Anyone who's been at Gen Con with me has seen this at least once or twice. These things are it's fucking ceramic.
You could do bludgeoning damage with that.
I could kill somebody with this thing. They are pretty amazing. So yeah, I'm drinking that today. It's a really good honey mead. I think you said you're doing Kraken over there, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I'm actually using. I kind of fell into that, like the Gary Con recipe that you introduced me to.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Kraken and the root beer, and it's definitely danger zone because.
Well, there's Kraken Barrel, which is what you're drinking now. Then there's Kraken Barrel Plus, which has got vanilla McGillicuddies in it.
I didn't put any of that in it, so I've already had one, so don't mind mine.
It's dangerous, man. It doesn't taste like anything, and then the next morning you realize you drank half a bottle of Kraken. So Rhune, Vikings, lots of drinking involved in that, obviously.
Yes.
I'm looking over the demo page you have up right now. Not everyone can see it, obviously, to the first, but you've got some of the best art I have seen in a long-ass time. Like, ridiculous. And I noticed that you say some of the influence is Planescape, and I can see it in some of the architecture stuff. I love me some Planescapes. That was my favorite setting to ever grace D&D. What exactly are people getting into if they kick into this? So, we'll go over the pledge levels and that kind of stuff, but what is Rhune exactly? What is the game for those that have never played it, seen it, touched it, rolled dice for it? What is it?
Rhune is Stormpunk, man. Rhune is everything I liked about.
Well, hold on. Define Stormpunk. That is not.
I'm on it.
All right.
So everyone likes. Well, not everyone. Lots of people like steampunk. Steampunk has this Victorian proper English kingdom. We are the declining empire. I need my monocle and my airship. That stuff's great. I love it. It's a little bit. Tired.
Too prim and proper.
Yeah, it's for something that I wanted to when I started thinking about Stormpunk, the influences I draw upon were obviously Planescape, Privateer Press's The Iron Kingdoms, Keith Bicker's Eberron. I mean, obviously there's those some of those more technologically based settings that are influential in the setting, but I wanted something that was dark and gritty that didn't quite feel like World War II, which is kind of what I took from the Iron Kingdoms, which, by the way, I love.
It is.
They're amazing.
I play a lot of the miniature game, man. I play it all the time.
It feels like World War II. I wanted something, and one of the big things that I really wanted to address, and this actually comes back from my history, Rhune Dawn of Twilight was actually born in 2007. I don't know if you know. I used to live in New Orleans. I was one of the people that evacuated from Hurricane Katrina, and like a lot of folks, being, I was displaced. I was living in Houston temporarily, and a lot of people were dealing with their own stress, losing homes and apartments and
Hmm.
loved ones and everything else. And I was trying to look for a creative venture, a
Sure.
creative focus, a way to actually take all this frustration and uncertainty and all these, all this
All the
BS.
shit that comes with having your place flooded.
Yes, that comes with having your home utterly destroyed,
Hmm.
and and focus it in a constructive, positive way. And I was reflecting, you might say, one afternoon with a beverage on the porch,
Who
and
does that?
it occurred to me that that a lot of RPG settings, even the ones that I love, a lot of them are always either a stage of people at war, or
Right.
they're people that are they're settings that are developed post-apocalyptic. So it's post-War of the Lance, or it's after the Time of Silence, or all these other things.
Hmm.
There's this historical empire that's collapsed, and you get to explore these ancient ruins, and it's all great, but it's people being born out of a cataclysm.
Yeah, out of strife.
Right. I wanted to build a setting that dealt with the stress of people that were dealing with the impending doom that comes. And this isn't something that might happen. This isn't, prophesized maybe when.
That
This is
shit's gonna happen. You better prep for it.
bingo.
It's
So
the people who find out the hurricane's gonna hit their house, and how are you gonna
yeah,
make it?
yeah, and essentially that's the underlying overall theme to Rune Dawn of Twilight
Hmm.
revolves around this thing called the Ragnarok clock. And without going into this a long drawn out history, at the start, when people jump into the setting, and GMs are going to adjust this as they see fit to tell their own stories, but
Sure.
people jump in at 99 at the 99-year point.
Okay.
That's 99 years counting down. Ragnarok is not an if, it's a when. And so you've got this overall theme of people who have the hurricanes coming. There's no place to go. There's no elven
Time to
retreat.
bunker down and get
how
ready.
are you gonna deal with it? So there's that overall theme. There's obviously this arms race that's going on, because people are preparing for the end times. They know there's going to be
Mhm.
a war. They know these supernatural powers, these gods, are going to return, and they're going to battle their enemies, the Thrall lords.
So you
And,
do have that kind of, you still have the large pantheon, kind of that Norse mythology style of having the
yes,
gods in many of them, and you have two sides kind of playing on this countdown to extinction.
right.
Um, what the Ragnarok clock is Ragnarok, because in some mythology it's a creature, in other ones it's the World Eater, other ones it's the idea of the world's going to explode, or like you're saying, all the gods are going to fight, or whatever it may be. What are the both sides fighting for then? Why are there two sides of this battle, and what does each represent?
So here's this crazy thing that I'm pretty fond of, and we're going to go back to Planescape for a second.
Oh God, I love this. That Planescape's so cool.
Ragnarok is actually a planar convergence. So
Oh, okay. That sucks.
mytholo- mythologically, the clerics in the setting will tell you the gods will return, and there's going to be this battle, and the fields will run red with blood, and
Right.
blood scalds will sing your glories, and all these great things. What's actually going on in the setting is the nine realms are coming into perfect alignment. They're converging. They were never intended to come in alignment. They were
Sure.
always supposed to be in their own places. But when certain thrall lords convince certain elves to activate a certain Ragnarok clock by accident, they started this process that brings all of the branches of the great tree into alignment.
So
Hence
it'll
the
be one unit, and everything's kind of lined up.
bingo. So what you're actually dealing with isn't just these gods returning to Midgard, to the prime material plane. All of these planes are superimposing themselves on one another, and they're competing for dominance. So when a GM is telling this story, each of the realms represents a place, but they also represent a time. They represent
Hmm.
potentiality and what could come into being if one side wins.
Oh, that's a shit show wrapped in a shit show.
Yes,
That's awesome. You and I have very similar lines of thought when we're
I
doing
know.
design work. The You've also talked about, so you have this horrible thing that's happening, all the planes. You have this arms race.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a very Tesla-styled energy and way of armor combat and driving your vehicles. Is everything coil how does that work? Is it all
All right,
coil tech?
so Stormpunk isn't steampunk because in terms of the tech race, the people that call lightning, the Storm Shepherds, won out. There is
Okay.
some steam technology in Rhune. It's very limited. It's very dated. It really actually, if you look at British history, when they first were developing steam technology, there was a
Mhm.
big problem with steam engines exploding and killing people.
Yep.
I kind of explored that naturally and looked at like, hey, in Rune, this also happened. So there's a little bit of a correspondence to real history where people just finally realized they were like, you know what, this steam technology, it takes a lot of work. It's not very
Space. It takes a lot of space.
Boilers keep exploding and killing our technicians. These
Yep.
guys over here, these storm shepherds, already have this blessed gift. They can call lightning right from the sky, and it was just a natural progression for them to develop an electrical based system that uses
Sure.
Tesla coils. I mean, it calls lightning. And people that like weird science, like alt science, they like more modern science because really everything going wireless now, it's all
Yep.
Tesla stuff anyway. So that's
Yep.
more the dynamic people are going to see in Rune. So they're going to have electricity. They're going to have that sense of that dynamism and that wonder. Are there the gritty stormpunk element or steampunk elements? Sure, you can play those as well, and GMs can tell those stories.
Mhm.
But they're really
Forgotten tech and lost things and large golems made of steam and
right.
retrofitted with, I'm sure, like lightning coils and cannons and craziness. Oh yeah, for sure.
Both sentient and non-sentient constructs in the setting, they're called the automata. They actually run off what are called thermotorque engines or storm engines.
Okay.
And it's a magical engine. They charge just like any other electrical device would. They've got to do their own thing. And the automatas, once they're sentient, they can power these thermotorque engines by themselves. But they've got to do their own kind of maintenance. They can't just run around endlessly. They've got to shut down. So people with that have a thing for constructs will find that they can play those in Rune as well. There's multiple models, so we developed that as well. So we gave people more options than just, hey, you can be a construct.
So and this is obviously one of the new races you can play in the game.
Yes.
So do you have a lot of new races for this setting?
Well,
I'm assuming humans are still predominant, being that it's a Norse mythology styled setting.
The humans and dwarves are probably the two most dominant races.
Oh, dwarves.
There are the elves, of course. There's also a subset.
Are elves a little different in this, if I'm not mistaken? They're not quite normal.
They're more eco-terrorists, actually. They're not pacifists.
Well, they started the Ragnarok clock. I mean, they're kind of douchebags. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, they didn't do that on purpose. Actually, that was an accident. So
that's not what I heard.
Yeah, right. You've been talking to. So yeah, you've been talking. But there's an offshoot of the elves called the Clockwork Elves. They're people. The elves in general in the setting hate technology. They're anti-technology. They're basically eco-terrorists that believe that the Ragnarok clock can be stopped by eradicating all technology on Midgard.
Oh.
So they're an ideological war against the East, which is run by the dwarves and the humans, who believe that the only way to win Ragnarok is to build giant war machines. That's not a Privateer Press pun either. They actually are just building giant machines of war. So you've got this ideological battle that goes on between the elves and the dwarves. They're fighting one another, more of like a strike, limited kind of quiet conflict, a cold
guerrilla style.
Yes. So that's going on. As far as new races, you've got the Glitterfane, which are a Fey-like race that are pacifists. They're formerly goblins who were blessed by the goddess Alnara, and she changed their shape and their form.
You get to play goblins?
Well, they're not goblins. They're former goblins. They're Glitterfane. They're pacifist missionaries. So there's a bit of a narrative that goes on there, but they have their. I don't want to say too much, but they have their own kind of dark element.
How do you play a pacifist in a world of war?
It's a really challenging thing. It's so far.
I'm assuming not all the race is pacifist. Just the general rule of thumb is they're pacifist.
Yes. Yeah. You could definitely explore non-pacifists, but there's a problem with there's a lot of ideological ideas and themes that I've developed in Rune.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, to get to the rest of the races, you have the Ariande.
Okay.
The Ariande they were a created race. They were made by Valuna Aka, the Great Weaver. They are a spider-like race. They're human. They're basically
Ugh, creepy.
like lycanthropes, but their secondary form is a spider. And they were
Like a
created.
half breed or a full spider?
They're a half-breed.
Okay.
They have spider-like features. They can transform some of them, not all of them. Some of the
Hmm.
tribes can actually transform into a full medium-sized spider. But their whole reason of being is to hunt down the Thrall and their servants. So they're
Okay.
kind of like the polar opposite of the Glitterfane, where the Glitterfane are, missionaries and they believe in peace and they're healers and they won't
Right.
sides. The Ariande are straight up night stalkers and assassins, and they're like, we will blow up your longhouse. So, uh, and we have the Jotun folk, which is a new race that's coming out that Mike Myler and I have been working on,
Okay.
and they are a breed of humans. They've got a bit of giant's blood in them or thrall blood in them that make
That's
people
awesome.
think they're evil. They're not all evil. I wanted to avoid any of the good chaotic dark elf
Sure.
ways.
You got your general statement of what things are, but there's always those
Right.
versions
This
of the race that do other things.
exactly.
Yeah. That's overall just the general Pathfinder view on races.
Right.
We are not all this, and I honestly, it's like Planescapes was very different from that. Planescapes was very alignment heavy, like boom, boom,
Right.
boom. You're part of this organization, you use alignment, which was very different. Wasn't race specific though; it was
Faction
faction
specific.
specific.
And we actually have factions. That's one of the things that we carried over from, that was
Nice.
influenced. We didn't carry over from Planescape, but was heavily
Kept the
influenced.
idea influenced.
So characters are encouraged to, early on in their careers, and again, each GM is going to tell his own story, but they're encouraged to develop an ideological outlook for their character, a
Hmm.
theme for their character. And we've created, and I've been running for years now, factions that generally they fit with the theme of the setting, and they marry character concepts to the overall theme of the setting, so that people
Okay.
can plug into the setting a lot quicker and get up to speed a lot quicker.
So I guess quick overview then. It sounds like you get to play in a world nearing apocalypse in
Yeah.
a Viking setting with some new races, with storm-powered engines, machinery, and tech, with some amazing artwork. And that kind of I want to touch on that later. I want to go over the actual Kickstarter here in a sec, but you guys have some of the best maps and art that I've seen in a long ass time, and I'm a huge cartography fan, and there's some good shit in here. But let's actually, before we do that, let's go into the Kickstarter and let's go into the cool concept you guys are doing for the Kickstarter.
Okay.
Fuck it, let's just start with that. Your Kickstarter, like every other Kickstarter in the Sun, has pledge levels because that's just the nature of the beast. There are
Mhm.
levels you pledge at and you get stuff. And we'll go over some of the main ones that you think people are going to hit at. But before we even do that, let's talk about the amazing part of picking a side. You're
Okay.
picking a side. What is this and how the hell does it affect the Kickstarter and what is it doing and how does it affect everything that you're doing? It's it's ballsy, man.
Dude, so people have looked at this. I've had people preview the site and they've asked me, they're like, hey, Jay, it's actually kind of confusing. You've got identical pledge levels, but different art for each. Why not just a simple set of pledge levels that tell people you can do this thing or that thing, or you'll get this thing or that thing or whatever? That shit's boring. Not only is it boring, but it's trite. I understand the concept. I understand the principle. I understand backers need to be told very clearly,
Mhm.
hey, what you're getting. I mean, this is an investment on the backers' end. They're investing their time, their trust, and their money.
Well, it's
to
still clearly stated what you're getting in each one of them
Right.
as well.
But I wanted to have fun with it because that's what RPGs are. They're fun. And why can't Kickstarters also be fun? All right. So
Right?
because the theme in Rune is very heavily oriented towards choosing a side, whether that's pro technology or pro nature, whether that's pro Thrall Lord or pro Assier or
Right.
the old gods. It's all about standing up for a value system. You're picking sides. People do this every day with their religion and their politics,
sports, whatever it may be.
Sports, edition wars. Everyone wants to, they want to rally to a theme and an idea, and they want to do that.
They want a banner to fly around for what they believe is right.
Right. So we wanted to do that with Rhune. We wanted to give people a chance to say, hey, you know what? I really love the idea of the Thrall Lords. I want to learn more about the North. I want to see this developed. Or people like, I really love these, these old gods, with their Nordic, Aesir, Vanir feel. I want to back the side of good. So it really comes down to like, hey, are you pro? Well, I don't want to say you're pro evil or pro good. It's more
ideals. You're pro the ideals. Well, right. I mean, let's break it down. So it's all about the Ragnarok clock. I'm assuming it's what are you going to do to stop the end of the world or be prepared? I shouldn't say stop. Really can't stop it. It doesn't sound like. How are you going to be prepared? So
that was actually a design decision that I elected not to make for one simple reason. I want GMs to be able to tell their own story. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to write something so hard. I didn't want to ever write into the campaign setting.
It's there, do what you want.
Clock.
Right.
Because then
there, you do what you want. So, but the Thrall Lords obviously are one thing, and the other side wants the other. So what do they each want? What are you pledging towards? Like, what are you backing? If you're backing the Thrall Lords, what does that mean? If you're backing the other side, what does that mean?
Well, basically, if you're backing the Thrall Lords, you're backing a new set of gods that are going to do everything in their power to crush the old gods under iron-shod boots. You are going to march south. You are going to enslave. You're going to eat. You're going to destroy. You're going to do the very classic rape. The barbarians of the North, the Thrall Lords. I don't know if you ever watched Firefly, but do you remember the Reavers?
Of course,
dude.
Yes.
That's it. The barbarians in the North. Their influences were heavily Firefly related. So
evil is definitely the right answer.
Yeah, their evil is there are people that are attracted to that in the North that are able to conceptualize it and intellectualize, or rather rationalize their following the Thrall Lords. Sure, there are cults in the South that dedicate themselves to the Thrall Lords because they're able to rationalize it, and put it into an intellectual context.
We need a reboot. In order to have a reboot, the new gods need to come in.
Right. Yeah. But really, at their core, they're evil. They want to come down, rape, pillage, eat, destroy, and the old gods the Thrall Lords want to consume their parents. In a very classic, almost Greco-Roman sense, they want to eat dad and mom. They want to become the new gods for the setting. They want to, and they will stop at nothing to do that. The gods of the South, the old gods, are much more in line with the classic Nordic sense. They're more honor bound. They have traditions. They're not above pulling some shenanigans and hitting you with a hammer.
Everybody knows that. We've all watched everything that's ever had to do with Viking stuff in Norse. They're not friendly.
No, they can be very barbaric on their own, but as society has developed in the South, they've chosen
technology.
Yeah, and technology has influenced them a lot, like it does in real life with us, and it's made them, or at least it hasn't necessarily made the old gods more civil, it's made their followers more civil. So they tend to approach rational thoughts and ideas, which is how these cults can develop in the South, because they're already a fertile ground for, rational concepts and ideas, and, it's easy for them to slip in. But at their core, they're trying to preserve not only their lives, but the society that they've helped create. Midgard is about this rational, cooperative development. So it's the classic kind of good.
So what's the good side then? Who are they? Who is the other side? So we talked about the Thrall Lords. What's the name of the other guys?
The Aesir.
Aesir. So the Aesir, you want the old gods, and how do they kind of want to stop all this stuff?
Well, they realize that they believe, I should say, that Ragnarok can't be stopped. So they're empowering their followers to win.
To fight the war.
Yeah, that's and that's really, and again, I didn't want to lock anything in. I know how I will tell the story. I know how I tell the story when I run Rhune.
Right.
I didn't want to lock GMs into anything. Like, if you look at the elves in the West, they actually believe that the old gods want technology destroyed. And so they're fighting an ideological war with the Southeast to do just that. And their clerics still get spells. They're still able to, and they believe that this makes them right. So, and in the East, the dwarves and the humans, they're developing technology and they're still getting their spells, so they believe they're right. So it's, the gods are, do they have a plan, to defeat the North? They may or may not. Really, that's up for a GM to tell their own stories.
Well, so you have this dynamic in between the two sides, but on the pledge levels, it's the same kind of thing. Like, there's the $5 pledge level, and it's basically for the SER or for the Thrall Lords.
Right.
It's the same amount of stuff, same bonuses as you go to each pledge level, but
Right.
it has a very key component. If one of those sides wins out on which pledge levels for the thralls all added up, because basically each pledge level, 5 through whatever the total amounts are, have a SER and they have a thrall.
Right.
And with those, if the thrall wins out, you guys are doing something. The SER wins out, you're going to do something.
Right.
How is this impacting design? I know a little bit from the back end, but explain what exactly it's going to do.
So one of the things that I was very conscious about overdeveloping the setting. I have the cities developed. I have my home campaign developed. I have very specific things that I run when I run my gamers through or when I run for people at cons.
Mm-hmm.
In the Stormpunk Character Primer, I left a lot of things open so that GMs, of course, could tell their own stories. But I focused, at least initially, on the city-states of Valinor. If you look down at the maps you can download, the older maps of Rhune, the southeast quadrant of Midgard is the most developed.
Sure.
I wanted to give backers the option to vote with their backer level so they could essentially say, you know what? City-states are awesome. I really want to know what's going on up in the Felllands. I want to tell me what Ice Wall's like. Tell me what the Pale Tower's like. Take me up to the northwest. Tell me, what are the barbarian tribes? Who are their patrons? If they vote, if the Thrall Lords win out, they're going to see a lot more side content.
Sure.
The Broken Bonds, the Broken Book of Bonds will contain a lot more. You'll see some traits, you'll see some history, you'll see some background information alongside those backers' names.
Okay.
Of course, if the good gods weren't out, we're going to do it. And this is we're not even actually including this as a part of the pledge. It's just a default. So really, if you back at $5 or more, or $1 or more, whatever it is, and your name gets put in that, that the Grand Galder or the Broken Book of Bonds,
mm-hmm.
you're going to get a small PDF anyway. So you're getting stuff. You're getting your name in a book.
Sure.
So you'll see. I mean, that's kind of standard for RPGs and Kickstarters. You back it, you get your name put in the book in small print. You get the thanks.
Right. But this is more than that. You're basically deciding the direction of production for the next couple X, Y, and Z.
It doesn't completely affect production. I mean, the campaign arc is already outlined. It's already being developed. But we're going to put little tidbits. If we
if the Thrall Lords win out, you're going to put more on the Thrall Lords, and the thing too is you can even do stuff on maybe not just plain Thrall Lords, but new feats, new perks, new traits towards fighting the Thrall Lords as well. That's kind of cool. You kind of get to decide what new stuff's going to come out through your pledge level.
You're voting with your pledge level. You're saying, hey, I want, if I want to learn more about Dager and the old Forge Father, Vlash, if you want to know more about, gun priests and storm shepherds, vote for the South. If you want to see, what blood
Civil War.
If you want to see the different barbarian tribes, if you want to know more about rage fever, you want to know about disease magic, and black alchemy and all these things.
Sure.
Vote for the North. I mean, you're essentially. I can talk. It's the Kraken. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. But essentially, yeah, you're voting with when you back this. So you're saying, hey, it doesn't mean one side is going to beat the other. That's still ultimately up for GMs to
No, this is about what gets produced.
Bingo.
So now let's talk about the actual pledge levels. So it looks like the $25 pledge level is the kind of the is that the one where everybody gets a PDF copy of the adventure? into the Pale Tower.
I don't have it. There's a lot of pledge levels. So I don't have them up in front of me. So
I have them up in front of me. So, so you have the 25 pledge level. That one is there's the two versions. It offers you PDF copy of the 69-page adventure into the Pale Tower, as well as copies of our current catalog of PDFs. When released, you also get a PDF copy of the updated Storm character primer. So 25 is the PDF level. It sounds like that's the one where you're getting the primer, you're getting the adventure, and you're actually giving out copies of all the old stuff too.
yes.
That's kind of awesome. So that's 25. 50 is the next level, and it sounds like the 51 is PDF for the adventure,
Mm-hmm.
As well as PDF for Beyond the Glittering Fane.
Mm-hmm.
And then PDF of the Storm Primer. So when do you start getting printed copies?
Again, I don't have it in front of me. I believe it is the. Hold on, let me pull up the page.
Yeah, you don't have to have this up. You can pull up whatever. Technology allows you to have other stuff pulled up. It'll still record you.
Yeah, I know. I gotta look at it because I don't have. It's all written in the Kickstarter and in my notes, and I don't have every single thing memorized.
I think 75 is the adventures.
Right. I believe that is.
So 75, you're getting a print. Here we go. Once a full adventure arc is released, you get a perfect bound copy of it, as well as you get the Champions of City States reward level. So 75 is the printed for the adventure. Which one's the printed for the Storm character, the Storm Primer?
Hold on.
That's what I'm looking for.
I want to say it's right around 100, and it's actually 2 prints. So you'd be getting. I gotta pull it up. Hold on. But essentially, you'd be getting the Stormpunk character primer and the 180-page adventure.
Is there going to be a way for people just to buy the Storm character primer if they just like as an add-on? Or are you going to have that to where they'd be like, I want all the PDFs and stuff, but I really just want that primer? And you guys are going to have an add-on for it?
Hold on. You're quicker than I am. I haven't really considered add-ons for everybody. Obviously, at some point in the future, once the Kickstarter is funded and everything's given out to backers, we'll put the primer out on PDF just for people to to go ahead and.
Well, I meant for printed. Like if I kick in at the, let's say I kick in at the $25 level where I get PDF of all of them, can I then also do an add-on for like $50 and just buy the character primer?
I hadn't put it in, but that's probably something we could consider.
Because for me, like $100, just from Kickstarter stuff, $100 getting all print copies is awesome, but
right.
I may just want the primer, or I may just want the adventure.
Right.
Some ways to break it up. And the fact that you're doing print copies of all of it is awesome. So I already know I'm probably going to do the $100 level. But you guys have split it all down, and you guys have some crazy perk levels too. Like when we get towards the bottom here, and people will be able to see this obviously once it comes out. You have some unique ones. You have the Battle Begins for Rhune, which and that one's its own thing in the Rune Lord. Those aren't even, you're not even picking sides anymore at that point.
Yeah.
And that one's like $500. You get all the stuff that you've seen before. You get access to developmental emails, early play tests, and you get to play at Gen Con. I'm assuming you're running the Gen Con game? Is that how that's going?
Well, yeah. I mean, if fans want somebody else to run for them, sure. I mean, but I was planning on running.
I figured it was you.
Yeah. I didn't imagine I'd have, and Will Cooper is flying in from New Zealand, so he'll probably run some stuff. I don't know yet if Joshua Caleb Kitchens is coming back out from Georgia. He may be.
Okay.
There may be other people that will come down and run. It just depends. Right now, I don't imagine I'm going to have 100 people. I mean, that would be amazing if 100 people.
I would love that.
It would be if people like, here's $500. That would be sweet. But I don't imagine there'll be a lot of people at this level. I would be surprised if there were. So
I got a full group out of it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You also have some cool stuff in here too. Like, isn't there kind of help design your own XYZ? Don't you have some of that in here as well?
Well, we actually, I didn't want to open up so much of the. There is an option for people to create like a sigil, to take some of their concept and help divide, design some of the art. Take something maybe that's important to them, be it a Rhune or something that's content appropriate, and they can put it in, and we'll include it. There is an option for people, and you've seen this already, where we'll take some people that are fans and we'll actually turn them into NPCs. We've already done this with a couple of people. One of the villains in Into the Pale Tower, Grey Navash, is actually the character. The NPC is based off Will Cooper's image. So
nice.
when you're hunting this dude down and trying to kill him, you're actually trying to kill one of our designers.
Well, I already have the beard for it, so put me wherever you would like.
Yeah. So I mean, there's an option for people to do that as well. Obviously, when people get in at the design level for design emails, if people are super, super, super enthusiastic and want to pitch ideas and want to offer things, we're going to be receptive. We're not going to be like, no, you can't give us any ideas. But at the same time, there is a theme that's developed. And so I've had people say, oh, man, if I give you X amount of dollars, and I'm looking at you, Mr. David Headquest, when I say this, but they're like, oh, I want Rhune to have dinosaurs, or I want ninjas or something. There's obviously, this is not there's a lot of settings out there that are really great, and they're kitchen sink settings.
Right.
And you can put whatever you want in them and tell whatever story. Rhune is not the Forgotten Realms. It's not Galorian. It does not include every single thing. It's not Greyhawk. It's not. It just isn't. It's very thematic. There's a story we're telling in it, and things need to fit appropriately to that content. That doesn't mean it's restricted to, hey, you can only do one of three things.
You've already opened it up, the area of what can be included just by adding technology. There's so much stuff you can add because of the weird science aspect of it. And it looks like you guys have like 11 pledge levels roughly. A lot of them are duplicated on here because they're what side are you picking? Right. You also have the Storm Bunny bonus one, which sounds like that's the handmade plushie. Are you also going to have those up for just buying maybe as an option?
So
as an add-on, because I just want to buy one.
All right, so we'll talk to backers about that in the future. Right now, the company that we're using is already super busy doing other projects.
Right.
So they've agreed to do up to 10 plushes initially. So I have to talk very nicely with them. And if we have a lot of backers that are, hey, I really, really want this plushie, which I love and I think is amazing.
I've seen the original one that you had. It's fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah, it is. But
that thing needs to happen. You also need to make Storm Bunny hats for winter.
That's actually a really good idea with like some evil ears and
like. Well, and you can pull the ears down and they tie at the bottom.
That's actually kind of
keep
good
it on.
That's a pretty
keep me around.
But either way, as far as I'd love to be able to say, hey, we'll order 100, 100 bunnies, stormies, and
yeah, I mean, it may take a while to get them. I get that. Other companies busy, but I want a store.
They're handmade, so I mean, it's
I get even better. Blood, sweat, and tears, man. I'll take blood stains on mine. I'm fine with that. More Viking, woohoo! Let's do it.
Yeah, except for the company, the company behind them that's got prick fingers and all
right.
that, it's like. Thank you. So no, I ran it by the company and made sure, I was like, hey, how many of these can we offer? And they were like, keep it under 10 initially. So I pushed it out, I think at 8 or 10 right there. And that's pretty much it. If we decide, if there's a huge demand, I can go back to the company and say, hey, do you want to?
Can we possibly do another 10 to 20?
Right, and that's but that takes a little bit of maybe some nice
finesse and dinners.
Yeah, maybe. So we'll see. I'll be the last person to overcommit another individual.
Sure, I get that, but it's so awesome. You have one sitting around you anywhere?
Do I have what?
Do you have one of them sitting around you anywhere?
Actually, the only one I have is up in the office, and I'm.
Damn.
So I can't.
That would have been awesome.
They look cool. But you can see them. I mean, when the Kickstarter goes live, people will be able to go down. I think that level is 275 or something, and they can see, Stormy. And Stormy is unbiased, of course. It's a plush of my, of my logo. It's pretty sweet.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So you guys have all these backer levels. You have everything going on. I love the fact you kind of pick your side kind of thing for it. The one thing I do want to touch back on, because I'm scrolling back up, is that the artwork is fantastic.
Yeah.
You have already dumped a truck ton of money into this. Like, it's obvious that this stuff has been
Yes.
not only your baby, but professionally done. Like, these aren't napkin sketches. This shit is professional freelancers that have come in, and some of this isometric stuff is amazing looking. The map of the city of Redwall is
John Roberts.
outstanding.
Yep.
Well, you guys have dumped so much already.
When
I'm curious as to what you're going to be able to do with the rest of this money.
Really, the money we're asking for $5,000 in this Kickstarter. That really is going to allow us to expand the Stormpunk character primer. It'll allow us to pay for the rest of the art, mostly the photography. That isometric stuff is beautiful. It is not cheap.
No.
Pay the rest
I know
of the
an artist is a pain in the ass. That's why.
Right. Pay the writers what they're worth, because writers get the short end of the stick a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, they all wish they could draw is what happens.
Artists, you guys get all the money in Kickstarters because
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, dude, we've been raised with this, you don't judge a book by its cover. Bullshit.
No, you fucking do. You judge that book by the cover.
All the time. You know what? But there's a reason for that, because if people are willing to... I'm gonna get on a soapbox here for a second. The reason I dumped so much money into art was I wanted to produce something I wanted to look at. When 3.0, when the OGL came out, everybody and their brother started a small third-party, publishing company. And
shitty black and white ink drawings.
I'm getting, 400 feet, scraped in crayon that are carbon copies of something that they changed the words on from, the player's handbook.
Yep.
Well, dude, some great concepts have come out of the OGL. There's some really, some amazing design that has come out, and there has been a massive pool of crap. And there's been a lot of stuff people haven't spent the time. They're not dedicated. I'm not saying these people aren't dedicated. I'm sure they are. But this, the last thing I want to do is this money grab thing. I don't want, I don't want a black and white PDF. I'd like to go to color. We're probably going to have to do black and white initially. But I didn't want something that was just, half-ass. I didn't want bad art, bad design. It kills me when I open a PDF from bigger, third-party publishing companies and there's blatant editing, misses. I'm like, you know what? I'm sure my backers would rather wait an extra week or two to make sure it's went through a paid editor, and rookie mistakes. Stop it. So, as far as the whole dumping money into art, I think the judging a book by its cover, yes, it has its place, but really, if a designer and a company is willing to put the money into development, you'd think they're going to also spend the time in building the foundation. But if you're going to give me half-ass art, does that also? What is that telling me? You're giving me half-ass.
Does it mean your product's half-ass as well?
Half-ass. Every single one of our products, and this is a point of pride for me, is either 4 or 5 stars. Every review we have gotten has been 4 or 5 stars. I don't have any 1-star reviews.
No.
I understand the review thing. It's biased and subjective, and I get that, but we don't have bad reviews.
But at the end of the day, biased or not, it means somebody enjoyed it.
Right. Well,
I don't care. I work in an industry where that shit happens all the time, and there's reviews for everything. End of the day, that person left happy reading your product or looking at your product. So no, it holds merit. Yes, they can be swayed. RPG industry, I don't think they're swayed as much because I don't know about you. I'm not putting a ton of money into making people vote on my shit at a 5-star rating.
Right.
Things get that rating because, especially at the smaller indie levels or the smaller third-party publisher levels, because their shit's good. That's why they get those numbers. It's not because they paid someone to go put stars up and it's all their friends. No, that's not how it goes. But you guys have already dumped a ton of money into this, and you have so many amazing things, and I'm assuming not only does this allow you to get the print, get better editing, get it indexed, and all that kind of stuff, I'm assuming that this is also going to allow you to get some new artwork, new maps for things that don't have it yet.
Yes. The really a lot of the money is going to be going to the cartography for the rest of the adventure path.
Sure.
Art for the rest of the adventure path, some updated art. I mean, if we hit some of our stretch goals and I can go full color, then I'm gonna put some even cooler art. We've got a lot of the art already.
Yeah, you guys have folders full of art.
I'm not gonna. I have spent a lot of money on art. I would estimate.
Start framing that stuff, man.
Yeah, since 2009, I've probably invested 8 to 10 in production.
That's a lot for art
of my own money. Well, I mean, it's art and writing and development, and and it's all the things.
Man,
but
it's something that you're passionate about, and it's your baby. I would do the same thing.
Yeah. So really, I mean that's
but
one
it
of
shows your dedication too to people backing you.
Hopefully, I mean I tell you what, people when people back this, they're not going to get that rookie third party. Hey, we just started doing this.
Well, you already have PDFs to prove that you can do it. You guys
Right.
have stuff out right now, and you're giving things out with these. You're giving out your library with some of these backer levels. They're getting to see what you can do.
Yeah, at the 25, I mean, and that's the thing. If backers, obviously we've got a fund to make this happen, but if backers just get in at $25, as soon as they back, let me rephrase that. As soon as they back, and we also fund, and I know that all that money, we're all good and everything's going to fund, then they're going to get a whole backlog. They're going to get the first adventure.
Yep.
Into the World Tower, which you already played through, or part of it. They're going to get all of our PDF catalog. So they're going to have, if they're running Pathfinder or even 3.5, they're going to have a lot of material already available.
Well,
and
they'll have the ability to start running your world already.
Bingo. They'll be able to run now. I mean, if they want to run the whole AP with no break, the whole adventure arc with no break, they'll probably want to wait for a little while so we can get the updated Stormpunk character primer done, get it finished, get the art, get the editing and layout done, and get it to the printers and back. I'm asking for about, I want to say it's like 14 months. I'd really like to deliver in under 8, under 9. It's ambitious.
Depends on how much you get, and also stretch goals add time.
Yes, and they do.
A lot of people never realize that the more stretch goals you have, the more time that has to get tacked on because you're producing more stuff.
And that exactly
sections, I mean, it's how it is. So is the primer the first thing you're aiming to get put out of all of these things?
We're actually, I want to release, I want to release them both at the same time.
Okay.
Obviously, we've already done, well, maybe not so obviously. I know we've already done more of the AP. The primers and its outline were already, even some of the stretch goals guys, they've got faith that this is going to fund. I've got faith this is going to fund. So we've got some of the people working on things. I've already talked to Adam Daigle over at Paizo. He's going to be designing some monsters for it. He's just waiting on the word to start. Clinton Boomer's working with us. He's one of our stretch goals. He's already handed over stuff to me and said, "Hey Jay, is this cool? Can I expand this?" I'm like, "Yes, that's awesome.
Yes, please do.
Please do. That's amazing." And,
Boomer stuff is always crazily insane and creative.
And awesome. When he does stuff, I'm just like, dude, you're awesome. And I'm biased, but he does that wacky kind of out of left field stuff that just makes perfect sense. And
he ties it together well with a bow.
Yeah, and he's working on the North. I'll say that. So
I fucking would have had no other guess besides that. I'm sure cannibalism is involved.
Yes, it is.
Is it really? Oh my god! Is cannibalism magic?
I will tell you nothing about a planet.
All right, I'm just guessing because if it's cannibalism magic, that's creepy.
Hey, we have blood skulls. That's all I'm saying. This may or may not be a family show.
No.
Yeah, Rhune is definitely as far as maturity goes. Rhune is definitely a more mature setting. It's definitely aimed at the.
You don't tie this together with the beginner box, is what you're saying.
No, don't put your 9-year-old daughter or your 13-year-old son through this.
No.
I mean, you could theoretically play it very vanilla, but at its heart, I mean, you guys, when you played through the second part of the...
It's gritty, bloody, violent, horrible things happen.
Yes.
And sometimes you're doing the horrible things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully people are taking the honorable noble path, but
We were just killing the bad guys.
the look on Andrew's face when he looked in the cauldron and
Yeah.
realized there was a human femur in it, and he came up to me the next day, and we were all a little hungover, and he's like, Jay, dude, that is some dark shit. What's going on in your head? I was actually a little nervous. I'm like, so I mean, if people
Oh
are,
man, did I go off the deep end?
yeah, were there bloody knives involved in this? Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
there were, actually. I was
Yeah.
using weapons from bodies to defend myself, thank you.
Like, literally beating people over the head with somebody's torn off arm, It's like,
I
But,
had to. So you guys have a pretty badass Kickstarter. I love I'm really curious to see how this duality of a pledge level thing works. I hope it does well, because I would like to see other people do it. It's awesome. And the stretch goals. What's the first stretch goal? What number do you know?
let me pull it up really now off the top of my head. Clinton Boomer is our first stretch goal, if I believe. I do
Is
not
it like
have
8,000? What is it at?
I think 6,000 and 7,000 and then 8,000. I have
The first 3 pledge levels.
I don't have it all memorized. I should. I've worked on it so much.
You son of a bitch.
I know. Why why don't you have everything memorized, Jay? I don't because
I don't know. You know the names of all your worlds and everything in all your areas pretty well. So I was like, hey, he actually knows. You're naming the names of the pledge levels and not knowing it.
Yeah.
Because you know the name of all the gods and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's easy enough to do. But no, initially we're trying to, Clinton Boom, Mr. Stretch Goal, Brian Berg from TPK Games.
Great guy. I'm doing maps for them right now. I'm finishing some up.
Yep. Adam Daigle, some monsters by him is a stretch goal initially, and then it just kind of goes out from there. I don't want to say too much.
No, I get it. I get it. We'll talk again halfway through the Kickstarter, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do the fun part here. We're gonna wrap this thing up. I usually try to keep it around an hour for everybody.
Okay.
We got a couple fun questions, and I got a couple ones that, but you'll see. All right, so Rhune, in 3 words, describe Rhune.
Violent, tense, conflict.
Okay. If people were to play this game at a table with a bunch of friends, what should they be drinking?
You really should be drinking good dark beer. Mead is good as well, but good dark beer out of a giant horn. Or if you're a liquor guy, Kraken.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to. My Kraken just went away. It's completely gone.
My beer's gone. I finished the rest of that bottle off that I had left, so I drank some beforehand. So with those being said, you've been to Gen Con for the last how many years now?
Since 2008, so 6.
So since it went to Indy,
Yeah.
you've been there only Indy, you haven't been the ones in Wisconsin where I'm at.
Oh yeah, but I mean the last time I was in Wisconsin was like '94 or something.
Right. Well, I've been to them since then. So, what is your favorite moment from Gen Con?
Oh man, that's so many blurry moments.
Yes.
And so many I actually cannot talk about on screen.
No,
So,
I know.
I could tell you about some of my favorite moments, but I'm going to probably stick with the gaming-related stuff that are my favorite moments from Gen Con.
I thought for sure it'd be the spotlight we left in your room.
Oh, you know what? That was I didn't use that for anything in my room. Like why is there a spotlight in the master suite? And where was it? What room? I was across
the Canterbury.
That was a Canterbury. Yeah, I was across the street from the brand. That was a pretty pimp room, actually.
I know, dude. That place is awesome.
Yeah, I like the JW Marriott better, which is why I stay there.
That's where we stay.
Not cheap.
No, but it's so worth it. It's vacation.
I don't know, man. I think I don't want to sound cheesy, but like I've got a lot of friends that fly in from Kuwait now, and every year Gen Con was our thing. We'd leave the Middle East, we'd fly into Gen Con.
Right.
A month or 2 weeks in the States, a week of that at Gen Con, drinking and relaxing and going to the Ram and hanging out and playing games, and there's just so many quality moments. I think probably the most fun the thing that really stuck out was, I think it was The Devil in Me, the adventure we played that the Four Horsemen wrote. I think that's
I had a blast running that.
That was one of my favorite adventures there.
Insane. We're not doing that this year, but we are doing something really crazy next year.
So yeah, so I mean that's still an adventure that we talk about to this day. That wasn't stuff that I ran or wrote, but
I have my name badge somewhere in the house. Oh no, I gave it to Skylar. All the Four Horsemen signed our name badges, and Skylar kept them.
Oh really? Well, I've still got my Faustus. I think competing against all those different teams and making it to the very end and pulling over some shenanigans against that other team, and then drinking rum later and talking about it. So
I thought for sure you were going to say Late Night Fiasco.
You know what? I forgot about it.
That cannot be talked about on air because that was the most.
Hold on, wait. We have airtime. Skylar.
I have it. Oh no! He gave me all the video. I have it. I'm actually in the middle of editing that footage right now.
All right.
I'm going to try to have it ready for Gen Con.
Because I think there was some really good acting in that. There was some good drinking and falling down, and not because of the drinking. But
and it was late. That was our last night at Gen Con, wasn't it?
I know. It's like we were drinking that Israeli beer and
swill.
Yeah, it was not good, but
fucking horrible.
Daddy, why did you touch me?
So bad. No, we're not going in this on air. It was horrible. It was in the South, crystal meth out of a church. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. So we made Breaking Bad look like the Care Bears.
You know what? And we were doing this before Breaking Bad too.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy. So that's your favorite time. We're gonna go with the Devil in Me. We're gonna go with that for.
I forgot about Fiasco, but there was a lot of alcohol involved.
For cleanliness, we're going to go with that. And then the last question is going to be, out of all the stuff that you are producing right now, is there something coming up that you guys are doing that you're the most excited about? A feat, a spell, a class, a race, a monster, right. Or something that you're super excited to produce and Kickstarter's letting it happen?
So if we do really well with this Kickstarter, I have a side project that I'm also working on. I haven't told anybody about it, and I'm not going to go into details. All right, so maybe that's not fair. One of the things I'm doing is I want to take some classic first edition and second edition material.
Sure.
Stuff that's all open source because it's myth-based, not content or IP-based, and I want to bring it forward and make it compatible with Pathfinder. So one of the side things I'm doing while, because I write Rhune every day, 3 to 4 hours, 5 hours a day, but I got to step away from the computer.
You got to break sometimes for sanity.
And every once in a while I need to, and I think most developers and designers do the same thing. They need to.
All developers and designers have something else to keep their mind sane.
So I have another side project that I'm working on that will, if people back at a certain level, all this will be added in. So I know one of the backer levels allows people to get all of our PDFs that come out through the end of 2016. Yep. So they're essentially going to get a secondary Kickstarter, a secondary product that we're developing on the side. That's awesome. So, I mean, people are going to get way more than and because they're PDFs, I mean, it's the cost to produce. Again, the reason we're doing Kickstarter at $5,000 is so we can really go to print and finish paying for art and do those things that we need to recoup a little bit of the art investments that I've already made initially, that sort of thing. But it's going to give people an awesome thing. And then there's additional PDFs and additional projects. Our Storm Money Presents is short and sweet, quick and dirty kind of thing, and I'm excited about doing those. And we've got some more of those lined up.
You said one thing. You're naming like 5.
Damn it.
I know.
Damn it, you and Logic. You're right.
One thing. So you're going to go with your side project? Are you doing the first edition stuff?
Oh, man. Yeah. Do I have to choose? I have to choose one thing.
Yeah, it's kind of what a question is.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm really excited about updating the Stormfront character.
I mean, is there a monster for Rhune that you're doing that you're like, yeah, I cannot wait to see this in print? Or a feat or a class or something like that where you're just like, this in print?
I really, really, really am looking forward to the Clockwork Adept if we get to that stretch goal.
All right. That's what I wanted. That's what I was looking for.
The Clockwork Adept was originally a prestige class that we did, and we want to make it a full level, 20 level class.
20 level class?
Couple
Clockwork
of-
level class.
yes. So and there's a couple other things that are stretch. Again, I don't want to show you. Well,
No,
people
that's all I
actually.
wanted to hear. There's an adept. I want that. When is that? What stretch goal level is that? Do you know?
I believe it is the $9,000 stretch
That
goal.
that shit needs to happen because I like Clockwork anything. So, and then I would have to say the last question is not company based, not your stuff based, just RPG tabletop based. Is there anything coming out between now and Gen Con over the next year that you're really looking forward to? Not your product, just something else.
Um,
Something else coming out.
right
That you're like, yeah.
now,
If you say D&D next, I'm gonna bitch slap you.
no, no, no.
Okay.
No. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out for Numenera that I'm really excited about, actually.
Yeah.
And
Numenera train
Strange.
is powerful.
I love. I haven't looked at any of the Strange stuff yet that Monty
It's
Cook's
good.
doing. It looks
It's
really
good.
cool.
Bruce
I
have done a good job on it.
I love Numenera. I think a lot of people that run it and see it, and play through it love Numenera. So,
It's
um,
this happy fucking mix between super freeform and rules. And, like they hit that perfect medium. They did what
yes.
fourth edition tried to do and failed. Um,
Actually, they did what first edition tried to do.
yeah, that's true. Well, first this was chainmail, but that's a different story for a different time.
Well,
Numenera stuff, yeah, I'm looking forward to Numenera. I'm really actually the Strange is what I'm really looking forward to seeing
yeah.
in Gen Con this year. I love the idea of the three worlds and playing all of them. It's like I'm getting Alternity, D&D, and D20 Modern all put into one thing.
Yep.
I'm stoked for
It's
that.
awesome.
So awesome stuff. Kickstarter's July 1st.
Yes.
Need $5,000. That's the
Yes.
minimum.
Yes. And
Two forms of backer levels: the Thrall and the Assier. Right? Is that right? Assier. Two versions. The pledging and what you pick will determine kind
yes.
of how things develop for the company. There will be some. There will
Well,
be
for the
some
setting,
plushies.
for the
What's
setting, not for
for
the
the
company.
setting, right? For the setting, how the setting develops. Very open ended though. You don't want to close anything off and say you have to do this. Plushies. There's only going to be 10,
Right.
8 to 10. Those things are awesome. I've seen one in person. I really want one. I may just steal Jay's. And
No.
then, oh yeah, it should happen. Coming in July, it doesn't matter. It's just going to happen. And then on
I'll
top of
see.
all that, where can where can all your stuff be found? What website are we going to?
You can just obviously when the Kickstarter comes up, I'll have that URL available. Right now, people can go to stormanystudios.com. It's all one
Sure.
word.
Okay.
stormanystudios.com. We're relaunching the website this weekend, so within a day or two, they're going to see the new site coming online
With all the
too.
Kickstarter shit on it and all
We'll
that
have
stuff too.
Kickstarter information on it. We'll have links to
Nice.
products. So if people are actually thinking, hey, I want to check this out, I want to see the quality of a PDF, they'll actually, if they want to buy the PDF, they can go ahead and do that, check it out. However, honestly, your money would be much better spent at the $25 level investing in the
Get them all.
Kickstarter. And then once it funds, you'll get all the PDFs anyway. And if people are really curious, the Stormpunk character primer, the old one, the one that we're rebooting, is still free. You can
Really?
go and
You out of
download
your
it.
fucking mind?
I have not pulled anything off. Yes, I am out of my mind probably, but I haven't pulled any of the free product, and I don't plan to. I'm going to
Okay.
run them up until the new Stormpunk character primer is done
So,
and ready to replace them, and then those free products will come offline because they will be replaced with the
they're
new.
outdated. They're antiquated at that point.
They're outdated. So, but up until that happens, people can go get the old stuff, man. They can look at it for free. I mean, who can
Awesome.
beat free?
Awesome. All I know is that I want a big poster of the world map when it's totally done.
You've been to the gaming room in the basement. I have
know.
vinyl maps for the poster.
I know. I want
Oh,
one.
dude. And we're getting a New World map, too.
I know. That's what I'm talking about.
Already in work. It's already in work. John Roberts did the original Rhune map. It's amazing. He does great work. I've got a really spot-on cartographer that is re-envisioning the map. It's not change. I talk a lot. You probably want to end this, but I'm super excited about it, so it's cool.
Well, I'm assuming you'll have some pictures up and stuff as the Kickstarter goes. So awesome. Good having you on Storm Bunny Studios, Jay. I'm excited. I love the re-envisioning of steampunk into stormpunk,
Thank
and the
you.
fact that we're playing a running down the clock those last few years kind of thing until the horrible shit as Ragnarok happens and the adventures that are going to come off of this. We'll see you at Gen Con. I'm assuming you're going to be running some stuff at Gen Con. Are you guys
Yes.
going to have a room there or events or anything like that? Have you signed up for any of that stuff?
So here's the thing. Gen Con is already super overbooked for so many people.
I
I'm
have
gonna do
no
what
idea
I
what
did.
you're talking about.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna do what I did last time. I'm gonna pull a small room aside at the JW Marriott. I'm gonna keep
Run
it
something.
under. I'm going to make it available to backers and fans. So watch the
Okay.
Facebook page, watch the G Plus page.
Cool.
Obviously, those backers that that elect to back at a level that has me running a game, they're gonna they're gonna get their game run for them.
Right.
But we've got other GMs that also run Rune stuff at different cons out in New England and here and there, and obviously at Gen Con. So people,
Nice.
if there's enough demand, we'll run up multiple games, and we'll do it in a nice, quiet place. Pizza, beer, 21 and older. Other kids can play too, but
We'll have the kiddie room somewhere else.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I'm stoked. I'll be seeing you soon, and everybody watch out. July 1st, Storm Bunny Studios is going to be doing their Rune. It's going to be awesome. $5,000. That's the minimum level, everybody. So get yourselves ready to do this shit. And stay on, Jay. We'll talk a couple minutes afterwards. But to everybody else, this is Lazarus Returns from Refresh and Reload, or Eric, as you all know me. Go get yourself a beer. Hopefully your summer is warmer than my Wisconsin summer right now, because right now I feel like I live in the fucking north.
Dude, I was at the gym this morning. I looked at the weather. The weather in Alaska
Horrible.
is
Horrible.
2 degrees warmer than it
No, we're
here.
not discussing it. No, we're not discussing it. This is the worst summer of all time here. It's shit.
It's
But
not summer. We're still in winter.
it's spring. It's spring right now. It's spring in Wisconsin in the end of June. But anyway, everybody have a good day. Go get a beer. Mine's empty. I'm down to water. I'll talk to you guys all later.
Thanks, man.